Hey, welcome to Between the Ears Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Curtis Pelletier, mental performance coach. Here we're bringing on coaches, players, scouts, baseball people to talk baseball. Their views and experience in recruiting, player development, and mental performance. If you're playing pro ball, college, high school, or just a parent trying to manage the matrix of travel ball, this podcast is for you. Here we go. Hey, welcome to episode 9, Coach Eddie Smith. Coach Smith is currently the head coach at Utah Valley University. He's been there since 2022. Prior to that, was at Louisiana State University. Coach Smith helped guide the Tigers' offense at LSU to program records in home runs and slugging percentage. Prior to that, Coach Smith was at Tulane as a hitting coach and recruiting coordinator for 2 years. Before that, Lower Columbia Community College, where he spent 4 years as a head coach. And prior to that, was an assistant coach at Notre Dame, Santa Clara, and Virginia. Coach Smith also played at Notre Dame and was an all-region infielder at Centralia Community College. This is a great episode. Coach Smith brings so much knowledge and so much information for everybody. Here we go. Eddie Smith, what's up, man? How you doing?
Doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, dude. I'm doing good. Where are you at right now?
Awesome. Well, Curtis, I'm in Cary, North Carolina. We have a player who is playing for the national team from Utah Valley. So pretty special day. First time in our program's history, and just one of those guys that you love coaching, love watch play the game. So pretty exciting to see him play against the country's best.
Cool. What's his name?
Danny Dickinson is his name.
Okay. That's awesome, man. So you made the trip. You made the trip from Utah to North Carolina to go watch your guy.
How about that? Yeah. Been a nice East Coast swing here for a few days, and I'll be home to the family tomorrow for a night.
Are you doing for a night? Yeah, isn't that the story? You doing a little recruiting while you're out? Are you hitting anything else up?
Yeah, I've been able to go check out a couple of other stuff, watch guys that are in the portal, and try to get a little better.
The portal. How crazy is the portal right now? Is all of A&M in there?
It's a lot of players, that's for sure. I don't know the exact number at this point, but try to find guys that could maybe help you out a little bit. I think it's natural at this point. You're going to lose a few guys, and you're going to add a few guys, and hopefully the add is something that helps your team and makes your team a little bit better.
So I created this podcast more. It's geared towards high school kids, geared towards high school parents, in a sense of having understanding and having realistic expectations in the process of recruiting, understanding development, what it takes, to get to that Division I level, junior college level, and mental performance that comes with it. And obviously you've been a recruiting coordinator. You've done a lot of recruiting in your time, right? You were assistant coach at Virginia, Santa Clara, Notre Dame, and then you went to LC. That's where I was introduced to you through our boy Ian Sanderson. And then you had a nice run at LC. Tell me about LC. Because everything, your resume is all D1, and then you have LC in the middle there. What was that like for you getting into the NWAC? Obviously, you're from the area, and it was probably kind of cool to be in that area. Tell me about your experience coaching in the NWAC compared to Division I.
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, my favorite 4 years of coaching in my life, no question about it. The pureness of the conference, the way that the players were all so hungry, and growing up just right before your eyes with a bunch of guys who were 1-2 years out of high school and living on their own for the first time. It was coaching for all the right reasons. It was a bunch of guys that came to Lower Columbia, and in most cases they traveled many counties away or states away. Providence was away, and it was something where we had a really cool melting pot of people from all over the Northwest, and then sprinkled in with guys from all over the world, and just an awesome place and fun level of baseball.
It was cool because I was coaching summer ball when you were at LC, and obviously Ian was our pitching coach, so we got to pick some guys up from your team, and the culture you were able to build there, the culture that the team was able to build there. Tell me about how special that is, with God, I mean, seeing all the t-shirts you guys had custom made and all the sayings you guys had on things. It was it was pretty neat, seeing guys like like Trevor Parrow. He was one of my faves, man. He was definitely one of my faves. Dakota was a beauty. Dakota was all in on everything. So with me saying a couple names there, I'll never forget. I was coming out of the tunnel in Victoria, and I saw Trevor Parrow warming up, and I saw him throwing. And it was one of my first. I didn't play Division I baseball. I played junior college, and then got right into coaching. And I've never seen a player warm up like him. I've never seen a player with the intent he had. Um, was that normal? Is that something you guys did at the junior college level, or was he a little different?
Well, Trevor was built different. There's no doubt about that. But I think that there were some things that we did pretty intentionally to try to put our guys in great positions to be the best they could possibly be with daily habits. With you talk about the preparation.
Mm-hmm.
It begins before it begins, and you either get yourself ready for the game or you wait for the game to start. And we always talk about having elite habits in that sense.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. Yeah, because like I said, it was really fun to see the difference in the junior college guys coming from Lower Columbia to other places. It begins before it begins. I love that, and you could see that in those guys. So, and then LC, you guys, you guys have got a couple rings, a little bit of a ring factory there. I think that's what Ian tried to call it.
That happened. That started a long time ago, and you
Yeah.
can look back to the 1970s, and that program started a really good run right about that decade, and
Mm.
it certainly has continued right up into the present day. And I think everybody who's gone through there has a special sense of pride. It's hard to explain it to people from outside the region that might not be familiar with it, but that ballpark, that culture, that town. People are just built a little bit different. There's no doubt about it. And there's a blue collar mentality that we had to go about our business with there. And people think that it's just totally over resourced compared to everybody else and has everything that you possibly need. And people couldn't be more wrong, quite frankly.
Yeah.
It was something where the resources were scarce, and I think it was that human resource of ingenuity and grit, and you're afraid to let down the people that had come before you. I mean, I just remember mowing that field all the time on the riding reel mower, and that was something that Kelly Smith, the prior coach, no relation, uh, he had taken so much pride in that grass being pristine and always trying to do that to uphold that standard. And then you look out on the wall there, and there's Ed Sheff. I mean, he's won more national
Yeah.
championships in college baseball than anybody on the face of the earth
Yeah.
they're at the NAIA level, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you just felt a huge responsibility there to make sure that the standard remained what it was, and that was winning championships every single day.
If anybody doesn't know who Ed Chef is, Google him. He recruited me out of high school, tried to get me to go to to Lewis and Clark, and I did my research, and I didn't want any part of that. To be honest,
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. So the guys are built different back then, man.
no doubt about that. Oh, no question.
Um, so then you went to Tulane after Lower Columbia, back in D1, hitting coach, recruiting coordinator. Are you there for a year or 2 years?
2 years at Tulane.
Okay, okay. You had, I mean, shoot, we had Frankie Neiman. He was the guy.
Yeah,
I
great
love
guy.
Frankie.
Frank
Yeah,
the Tank. He had a nice
Johnny
career at Tulane. Yep.
Johnny Oppo. He was the best. He was such a good kid. And then LSU came knocking. How did that work out when you went to LSU? Obviously, that's I think the well, not the goal, but a place that all coaches want to be is at the SEC. LSU. What was that like?
It was incredible. I mean, it was an absolute amazing experience to get to work with the best players in the country day in and day out. It was remarkable. The fan base, the culture of Louisiana in general, but how passionate people are about college baseball at LSU. Uh, it is. It's everybody's dream because of that,
Yeah.
And to get to experience that firsthand was awesome. We had a chance to work with some really special players, win some really fun games. That conference is just a dogfight every single ball game. Tough league, and you live for that. So really awesome there.
What'd you take from LSU? Obviously it's a big spot, and you went from LSU to your current job as head coach at Utah Valley. What were some of the things you took from LSU?
Yeah, I think just the tenacity that you have to recruit with in the SEC. I know we're not in the SEC here at Utah Valley, but we certainly try to recruit that way, and we try to run our program in every other aspect the same way that we did at LSU. Now, there's some limitations. We aren't chartering flights or anything like that, but gosh, our guys have it pretty good. And
Mm,
it's something we're on field as far as the player development and the player experience and the intensity to go win the ball game. I don't care if you're at LSU playing in front of 10,000 or if you're playing, some junior college in the middle of nowhere in front of 10 people. You could still bring that exact same intensity and enthusiasm. And I think that's something I would share is whether it's been Lower Columbia or LSU and certainly now Utah Valley. That intensity level, that value of every single day, whether that's a day in the middle of the summer out recruiting. I mean, gosh, Friday nights are won in the middle of the summer on the recruiting trail. That's the bottom
yeah.
line. You can feel bad all you want on Friday if you didn't get the job done and you lose a game 4-3, but instead of feeling bad, put that energy into the phone call, put that energy into the visit, put that energy into the evaluation in July. There's nothing that bothers me more than the person that says, "Ah, shucks, that was a tough loss, wasn't it?" And they haven't done their job all fall. It's a frustrating thing. Yeah, you know what? That game was lost a long time ago. So I
Mhm.
think that's the biggest thing that I would say was maybe even notched up a new level at LSU, where because of the resources, because of the pure professionalism of everybody in the locker room and the league in general, it was so competitive that you had to be the best version of yourself because the margins were just so small. I mean, you're trying to get just the slightest advantage every angle that you possibly could, and it made you be the best you can be
I mean, and we're talking every day, right? Like when you wake up, you're in a big spot every day.
all day, every day. It's an existence, and
Yeah.
it is in this sport. If you want to be successful in college baseball, whether you're a player, a coach, administrator, it doesn't matter. It's not a job. It's not a lifestyle. It's not a job with odd hours where you're always on call. You got to put your whole heart and soul into it. You got to find family that's willing to be along for that ride and happy and eager to be along for that ride. It's just the reality of it for everybody involved. Because if you're not doing that, you're going to get smoked. You're going to get blown right off the train tracks by those that are.
Well, I think that, and for coaches, that's the kind of the mindset, the mental performance side of it is, having that off field stuff line up with your on field, with your work. It's I know as a coach, I have 3 kids. I have 2.5-year-old twins. Hard for me to coach right now having 2.5-year-old twins, thinking about them at home, and with lack of childcare and things like that, that's why I'm home. You got to make those decisions sometimes. I'll be back on the field, but when it's the right time. But I remember being in summer ball and coaching collegiate programs, and I got to a point where my head wasn't 100% there, and you can't be in that spot.
Right. Oh, no doubt about that. You got to
Mhm.
bring that edge every single day, and the game's never going to sit around and wait for you and your own agenda. Winning never runs to you. You got to go find ways to attack it, and it still doesn't promise it.
Yeah, baseball doesn't give a shit about your life. Yeah, that's what I've told a lot of players. But you've been go go go. You went to Centralia. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Big Hall of Famer at Centralia. I googled you real quick. Yeah, yeah. And then you went to Notre Dame. You played at Notre Dame. That's kind of cool.
Awesome place. Yeah. A
Yeah.
little bit of a dream come true there. Just grew up being a Notre Dame football fan. My grandpa had gone there on the GI Bill after World War II to get his master's, and so in our house it was Irish football on Saturdays. One of my first memories that I can remember is 1988. Notre Dame wins the Orange Bowl, and my dad was telling me how they're going to be number one. And didn't I mean I'm 3 years old. I don't really understand that whole concept yet, right?
Yeah.
But I remember the next morning getting the newspaper, right, opening it up and going down the standings, and there's Notre Dame number one, and sitting there
Wow.
with my dad and reading that, and it was a cool thing to be able to put on that uniform, have Irish across your chest, and amazing experience.
Well, I remember in high school. I mean, we're up in Canada, but we got the Notre Dame games on TV. I
Right.
remember Lou Holt. I remember Lou Holtz, right? Like it's. I had a Notre Dame hat, and I'm sitting up here in Canada watching the CFL with 3 downs, but I'm still fired up to watch Notre Dame on a
Yeah,
Saturday.
you're wondering why they're going for it on 3rd and 15.
Yeah, yeah. Why does it feel so small? What's going on here?
No doubt.
Um, but you went okay. So you went Notre Dame, and you didn't take a break. You got right into coaching.
I was really fortunate. Yeah, right
Yeah,
after my playing career ended, I got to be able to start coaching at the college level at an elite program, and
yeah,
huge break to be able to get that opportunity and learned so much. My first 5 seasons I spent at the University of Virginia, 2 as the director of operations, 3 as the volunteer assistant, coaching first base, throwing a lot of batting practice, working with catchers and infielders. Um, but I think as much as anything, it was watching coaches from Brian O'Connor to Carl Kuhn and Kevin McMullen, professionals, pros, just go about the business the way they went about the business and build a program. I mean, we were still dressing in a locker room that was the size of a little storage closet, and
cool.
it was something where you think of Virginia baseball now. They've earned a lot of great things. There were still a lot of meager means at the time. And college baseball was just a different animal at that time. It was a cute little sport in an athletic department, and I think now it's become the true number 3 sport, revenue generating at places. Number 2 sport in little pockets of the country. I shouldn't even say little pockets of the country, the whole southeastern
Yeah.
region. I think that there's more passion for college baseball than there is for everything but football, and it's an awesome thing
Mhm.
how the sport has grown in that time.
What's baseball like in the Northeast right now? Like high school wise and college
Yeah,
wise. I have a couple clients in the Northeast, and they're hitting up the Ivy League schools. They're bouncing around, and it just seems that I see some of their high school games, and it's definitely not the same as some of the other parts of the
uh,
country.
well, yeah. I mean, I think that it's hard for me to say exactly on that. My familiarity with Northeast baseball is pretty limited right now. I
Yeah.
was up in the New England area a couple of times when I was at Tulane and New York once, but not a whole lot of experience up there with the high school sport. I know that you talk about how the Southeast embraces it. I mean, one of my favorite things about recruiting in Louisiana was just going to the high school games. Obviously, I'm there working, but I'm a fan as much as anything else. There's 2,000 people there. There's
Yeah.
people yelling and screaming on both sides. I mean, it was a really, really cool thing to see that sort of excitement around the game, even at the high school level. And it's a really cool thing. Obviously, it's a regional thing and it's a weather-related thing, but it's awesome to see high school baseball all through the country, and that was a cool experience.
Yeah, Louisiana's cool. I mean, it's a shame they don't have a big league team, but I got to go to junior college in Texas, and we had a lot of dudes from Louisiana, and A, I couldn't understand them, and B, they were legit. Like these guys could come in and play.
Yeah, yeah. It's a region that people care about baseball. There's no question about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had some guys from Lake Charles, and it was like talking. It's a different language. It's wild.
It is. Oh,
Uh,
there's no doubt about that. You sure they
yeah,
weren't speaking
yeah.
French?
No, I mean they're very French. They're very French. French last names, French all kinds of things, right? It was cool. I got to go home with them and see things.
Yep.
It's such a neat part of the world. And that's the coolest part about baseball too is the opportunity to see these places you would never think to go,
Right. No doubt.
right?
No doubt about
So obviously you have experience playing in junior college, you have experience coaching in junior college, you have experience playing D1, coaching D1. Any advice to high school kids right now, especially in Canada? I know you're not flying up here to see a dude potentially, and but guys are on the map, and we're in a day and age where you can see guys and you have access to video and numbers, etc. I'm talking about realistic expectations because I work with kids and I go, okay, what's your goal? What's your goal here? 13, 14 years old. And, the common answer is Vandy, LSU, USC. It's all these big schools. And cool, great, awesome, amazing goal. But a little bit of advice on a road potentially, that you traveled, you've seen as a coach? What are the benefits of junior college, would you say, in your opinion?
Well, I think there's a lot of benefits. I think that you talk about that, and I think it's important for players to have those sorts of dreams and visions of schools that maybe they see on TV a lot. But
Mm,
I also think that what gets lost so much right now is just playing the game for the love of the game and playing the game for the joy of the game, as opposed to playing the game for the next level.
yeah.
Whether that's a college player thinking about his draft stock, a minor league player trying to get called up, or a high school player or even middle school age player thinking about the college level, right? And so I think first and foremost, it's so important that players go out and enjoy where they are. I tell guys all the time, hey, go win that state championship. Hey, go enjoy your graduation with your friends that you grew up
Yeah.
with, your prom, and all those things that come along with high school experience that you only get to experience one time. Because, hey, college is awesome, and it'll come when it comes, and when you get there, enjoy that. But so often I see people with one eye to the sky and they forget to enjoy where they are, and I think that's a challenging thing to watch a little bit for me, because I know I had a lot of great experiences before college too, and so I think
Hmm.
that's important. I also think it's important to go to a place and a level that wants you, that you fit, that you can play.
Yeah.
The reality is everybody's packing rosters in right now. I mean, 45, 50, 55, very common as far as a starting point with rosters in the fall, because there's so much transiency that we just don't know who's going to show up, who's not going to show up. So we target that 45-man roster for the fall with our program. And
Okay.
it's something where, because of that, I think that the player needs to be realistic about what is a level that I can go make an impact at. Because, at public schools, there's less than a 50% retention rate right now in college baseball for people that enter as a freshman and stay for their third year. That means that
Wow.
they aren't willing to put up with the traditional track of show up as a freshman, red shirt, have limited playing time, second year go out, maybe play half the time, third year be a leader, everyday-ish guy, impact player, etc. Obviously, there's guys that have a different route and play more or never get on the field, but that's probably, if you're talking about the bell curve, that's where the most players fall as far as their traditional path of college baseball. Well, people aren't waiting for that third year anymore. Shoot, a lot of them don't wait for that second year. So finding a level where you can go in and play early on, I think, is important. And for so many players, that junior college level is a great spot for that. And when you get there, don't think that just because it's a junior college, you're automatically guaranteed that you're going to go in there and play every day at shortstop and hit third, or play every day, period. Because there's going to be plenty of good players at that level too.
Yeah, there's dudes falling out of trees everywhere, man. I mean, it's yeah, I just love what you said about the blue collar feel, at LC. When I was at Grayson, it was that same feel. It was that same, I had my old roommate on who's a bench coach for the Round Rock Express now, and he played minor league ball for years. He played UT, played at Louisiana Lafayette, and he said the same thing as you. He's like, those 2 years of junior college, like you said, for coaching. He's like, those were the best 2 years of my life. I didn't
Yeah.
want to go there. He said. He's like, I begrudgingly signed to play junior college. He's like, I thought I was on a road to hit, be a 3-hole hitter at UT. And he was humbled very quickly. But, it was like he needed those 2 years. He needed those
Yep.
2 years to develop. It was that delayed gratification that he needed in his life. And, I think that's something that is unfortunately lacking nowadays with everything so available and accessible. Everybody wants it now, and with social media, everybody wants to post that commitment post. That's all I see, and I'm so happy to see that you guys can't talk to players anymore. You guys can't talk to freshmen or sophomore, middle school kids, and the kids got to put their work in, right?
No doubt about that. No question. I think that's a good piece for everybody involved. And I mean, the reality is the portal has shifted our focus as coaches on the recruiting side much more to the transfer side. It's almost like there's a rhythm to it, okay, where, hey, mid July to August, that's when we're looking at high school players. Fall is a combo of high school players and junior college players. Spring, Obviously, our own team is a major focus, but we're still looking at junior college players quite a bit. And then in the summer, it's hopping out there and just trying to crush that portal all June and July. So it's kind of an interesting rhythm right now.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine it's kind of new. It's a new process everybody's developing. As a coaching staff and understanding the portal, and like you said, you don't even. I think Ian said it was a couple weeks ago. There's 4,200 players, and I talked to Connor Gandossi yesterday. He said there was upwards of 5,000 in recently too. So it's like Ian said, the math is not adding up, man. The math just is not adding up as to how
It's
many
not.
guys are in there.
It's not. It really is not. There's no question about that.
Um, jump to some high school. When you're looking at high school players, Eddie, what are you looking for? When you go and watch a high school game, obviously you probably have a name or two that you already know that you're out there to actually see. But what else are you looking for? Are you looking at other guys? You seeing other guys perform? You seeing some things? I know as a guy who's done recruiting, I'm getting there early. I want to see them warm up. I want to see how they carry themselves. What are you looking for specifically, or in a roundabout way with high school players right now?
Well, there's no substitute for talent, and a lot of times talent is decided by your size and strength. That's
Mhm.
very much a reality about that. That fair, unfair, whatever you want to look at it as, the biggest, fastest, and strongest players are the ones that we're targeting. That's what we need to be able to compete in this grown man's game. And obviously, we'll factor in projection a little bit with a high school player, but as I shared with you, it's hard for us to find guys that want to go through that process of wait, 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 wait. So we don't want to spend the time or money resource on a player that we're hoping might be good 3 years down the line. I mean, that's got to be
Gotcha.
a player that can come in and do something for us right away. And
Mhm.
so there's no substitute for that part of it. But once you get that part of it kind of checked off, there's some factors. What's this guy's history of winning? What has he done to help his team win in the past? Is he familiar with winning, or is he just a guy that goes out there and plays baseball? Does he make his team better? Does he play hard? What's his motor like? I can promise you we have some of those traits at Utah Valley that we had at Lower Columbia and that you spoke of in your experience in working with those players. We go fast. We try to go like Oregon offense, Marcus Mariota era fast, right?
Mhm.
And it's something where, man, if a player doesn't have a motor that's off the charts, it's going to be hard for that player to have any success in our program. And I speak for our program, but I think that could be spoken into just about any other program too, because gosh, this game just demands so much, and there's just a handful of guys that get by on talent alone, but for the most part, this game rewards the self-made player once you have a certain level of baseline talent, and we got to have guys that are willing to do that. So just try to look at a guy and how he goes about his daily work, how he goes about his business, how responsive he is to phone calls, text messages. Not going to chase a guy down very much on stuff like that. And then, the one thing I would also share is the classroom piece. And I know that, grades are a little different in Canada, but on that 4.0 US scale, man, I always say if you don't have a 3.0, we're just going to move too fast as a program to allow you to be successful. I don't
Gotcha.
care how you got that 2.7. It just isn't going to fit very well for you here. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's my junior college coach was was Tim Tadlock, and his advice, that's all he said. All he said was take care of your business. Take care of your business. Take care of your business. I don't want to. There's no room for anything off the field that's going to affect you on field. This is no time for it. And you talk about speed, Eddie. You talk about the pace of a program, dude. It fires me up to hear that because I had an opportunity to start a collegiate program up here in Canada, and I had a team full of freshmen. It was like herding cats and trying to train a cadence for the team, for practice, for setup, for takedown, all these little things. I mean, we're not even talking about drills. We're talking about in between things. How do you hold a freshman's hand a little bit and give them a little bit of time, or is that something you rely on the juniors and seniors to do? to kind of guide
Oh,
them?
there's an onboarding process for
Hmm.
sure. There's no question about that. And obviously, there's a lot more patience for somebody who doesn't understand what's being asked of them yet, as opposed to just defiantly not doing what's being asked of them. Huge, huge difference. And
Yeah.
for the most part, don't find a whole lot of guys just being defiant. For the most part, it's a lack of understanding what's being asked of a player. I think it's something where when I was at Lower Columbia, we hired an assistant coach one year, and about a month in, he says, "Gosh, this is amazing. You just lay out a yellow brick road, and all they have to do is follow it, and they'll be successful." And I kind of laughed at his analogy, but I thought about it more, and it's like that's exactly what our job is as a coach: is to
Hmm.
lay out expectations that are really clear, make sure that it comes in increments that have some urgency with that. Early on when you show up as a freshman in the fall, like, hey, there's a lot of information that's going to be coming, but you can't just dump it all on them at once because then they're going to forget it. So I think how you implement that into a team in general is really important, really critical, because sometimes you have to have that patience in the fall of, hey, you didn't do that right, but we haven't talked about that yet. So I'm not even
Huge.
going to address it because I know that next week I'm going to address that right there. And so we try to do a lot of things sequentially, both kind of program standard wise and implementing all of our program standards on the field, whether that's base running or team defense, et cetera, et cetera. Like, week 3 of practice, we probably haven't worked yet on a couple of items. And when that comes up in the scrimmage, we're not going to sit there and probably not even going to address it yet. It's just going to be, oh, hey, we'll get to that. We've covered fly ball
Gotcha.
communication, we've covered cuts and relays, but we haven't covered that yet. And we'll get to that next week, and we'll work to master that later. We just got to master what we've worked on at this point.
So in the fall, I mean, how basically I took from a lot of coaches that I played for that weren't very good coaches, and I tried to do the opposite. It's like I wanted my players to be prepared. I drew out practice plans for the whole fall. I preset rosters for inter squad games, so guys knew they were playing. They knew what game they were coming in. They knew what was expected for them, and they always had this information prior to the day of. Is that something you guys do? Let your players know what's going on prior to the day of.
Not prior to the date. Well, I shouldn't say that. We send out a weekly practice schedule every
Cool.
week,
Yeah.
a couple of days before the week begins. Just to try to help the players with their time management, and
Exactly.
I think that's the only way to be fair with them because they've got 2 full-time jobs. They're a full-time student and a full-time athlete. They don't have time for anything else, right? But just balancing those 2 things is hard enough. So we try to help them with that part. And then as far as the daily practice schedule itself, we have that posted every day by about 11:30 a.m. We usually practice at 2 p.m. So just gives you an idea. Most of our guys start showing up around 12:30. They'll have their lunch. They'll get into the locker room. They'll get their work in the cages. They'll get some early work in. Um, and then we'll get after it. And they are responsible for knowing what's going on that
Yeah.
practice plan. Once that
Yeah.
practice starts, once we say go, it is know where you're supposed to be. I mean, if you can't sit there and know what's going on, man, how are you going to go dominate the practice? So I think that's a big thing is to let those players know what's going on and they have that information.
Yeah, I love that. You can't you got to dominate the practice. You got to win practice in order to win games, right? It's got to be that same mentality. And for me, I see that up here in Canada as something that lacks a little bit. And I just, I'm really, this is where I'm trying to get information and have these conversations to help a lot of people up here. So you talk about players are getting in around noon. When are these guys lifting? These guys lifting early morning. Obviously, they got school and they got homework. They got to study.
Yeah, no, you bring up a great question. We have a huge luxury here at Utah Valley. We have
I
a full
saw
time.
I saw you posted some pictures of that, dude. I mean, it's
Yeah,
gorgeous.
I mean, to me, strength is just such a separator. And when I talk about strength, I'm talking about overall performance. Starting with durability, okay, but then
Mm,
the speed, strength, um, the ability to rotate fast, the ability to be mobile, all those things they fall under a similar umbrella of performance. And we're fortunate. We've got a performance coach. I mean, when it comes to our assistant coaches, he's listed right there with every other coach that we've got. I mean, I don't look at our pitching coach or hitting coach any differently than our strength coach. In fact, our strength coach is probably more dialed into the team. He's able to work with our players all summer long by the rules. He's able to work with our players more than we are in certain segments of the NCAA calendar. He works with every player on the team, which no other position coach does that. So his role is incredible, and certainly a football kind of perspective there on that side of it. I know that so often, when Brian Kelly gets hired at LSU, for example, he brings his own strength coach in with his coordinators, and that's as big of a hire as coordinators. And I understand why, because, man, once you have a bad experience and you have guys getting hurt at alarming rates, you want to do something about it. And so for us, we also have a great fortune. Not only do we have a full-time strength coach who travels with us, he's one of our assistant coaches. He's at every practice. He's at every coaches meeting. He's in every recruiting visit, but we also have a baseball only weight room. And the beauty of that is because we have a strength coach who's baseball only, he wants small groups. He wants to coach the players. Hey, if you have a hitting group, you have 10 guys in there, you get to see you're more running a camp than you are coaching hitting. And that's kind of his perspective on the lifting side. So very often our lifting groups are somewhere around 2 to 6 guys at a time coming in. He is coaching them how to lift. He is watching their body move. He is listening to their body through their actions, watching us at practice, measuring all sorts of things, and taking a little bit of a data-based and scientific approach to our workloads in the weight room, balancing workloads at practice with the weight room. I mean, I'll rely on him all the time. Hey, JJ, this is what we're doing base running today. How many reps would be appropriate for these guys? Just trying to factor in those sorts of things. And, what that's brought to our team in terms of durability, power numbers, I think it all ties heavily into that. I think that I'm just so thankful for our administration here supporting that, because I think that at a lot of places, the strength coach for baseball is also with another team or two teams and traveling sometimes. What we've got here, it's a game changer for our player development. I don't see how to run a program any other way at this point without it.
Yeah, I mean, you got pretty fired up when you're talking about it. You seem pretty excited. It's awesome. It's really cool. It's really cool to hear. I mean, there's nothing better than a staff that's running together, that's on the same page, and it's all the cogs and the clock just working together. And it probably, as takes a while to find that. It takes a while to find those pieces that work together.
It does. It does. And I think that's been a really nice thing about Utah Valley. I mean, we've been able to, really piece that together and get to that point. JJ was a guy who came on in year 2 after, an experience in year 1 where we had a lot of injuries. And we just, as a staff, kind of came together and found some ways to fundraise for the position. And our administration helped out a lot with that. Again, it's been awesome because we all work with that strength piece within our own little units of hitting, pitching, fielding, and it's a big piece.
When obviously we're talking about the physical strength side, and the importance of that. What are you guys doing for the mental strength side?
Well, I think there's a lot to that for sure.
Yeah.
We've worked with the outside contracted mental coach the last 2 seasons. Been awesome to have them come in. Both of them come in multiple times and via Zoom and in person, which has been great. Trying to teach our guys, give our guys tools for the guaranteed adversity that's coming by the sport of baseball.
Yeah.
Tools for routines, preparation, resets, etc. Awesome stuff. And more than that, I'd say that every day we start our practice with a quote of the day. It kind of pertains to what our team needs on that given day, setting the tone for that, kind of a daily mental trigger for our guys, chance to get going there. Usually that takes 30 seconds, 90 seconds. Sometimes our team really needs it. It'll take 5-10 minutes. We'll sit there and we'll really talk about, hey, here's where we are. or hey, here's a video that really speaks to where we're at right now as a program in regards to where we are and where we want to go. And I think that's a big piece for the daily exercise of the mental strength, the mental reset, the reminders of what we're working for and the why, and then we'll go out there and do our thing. So it's a big, important piece of it for sure.
Huge. It's a grind. It's a physical grind. It's a mental grind, and we're just talking about the baseball side. You had school, you had the pressures of all that. It's hard. You commend anybody who has the ability to play, not just play, but stay in Division I baseball is doing something real special.
Yeah.
That is setting them up for long-term success.
There's no
Yeah,
question, no question. This
yeah,
experience, I mean, it's the best classroom in the world, and you said, hey, not just play, but stay. I mean, holy cow, there's a lot of guys that get their name on a roster online these days, but not a whole lot that go get to actually be in a
yeah.
program for 3, 4 years, and it's a special group that does that.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Eddie, we'll wrap it up here, man. I really appreciate you coming on. I know you're a busy guy, and we had a little bit of technical issues at the start with this crazy software, but yeah, thanks again, man. I really appreciate you. And all these words are so valuable for everybody listening. I'm just gonna ask you when I stop this to not leave. It's just got to upload for about 5 seconds. Okay.
Okay, great.
Awesome, Eddie. Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
All right, Curtis. Thank you. Have a great